Hey, this is Sari, and you're listening to the GeekCast radio network of podcasts.
Cliff Jumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Tune in next week for a much better episode. For now, though, courage.
Hello and welcome to the 42nd episode of ToyCast, sponsored by BigBadToyStore.com, where you can save from 20 to 90% on over 1,000 items. I am your host, TFG Mike, and joining me, I don't even remember when the last time you were on the show, is the goddamn Proto-Man.
Hey, yeah, I don't even remember either.
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Probably.
What have you been up to?
Oh, a lot of stuff, a lot of planning with TFCon. We're hammering out the exclusive now. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty much almost ready to debut our little sneak peek of what it is. I predict maybe a couple of weeks from now, maybe a week or two, because we just want to finalize the color scheme. Because, I mean, all exclusives that all us conventions get are pretty much just repaints of pre-existing toys. So, aside from that, I don't know. Valentine's Day passed. That cost us all money. I guess all I could tell people is there's Transformer Valentine's Day chocolates out there, and they don't taste too great, so don't buy that for your girlfriend.
Oh, good lord.
They're probably at clearance at this point, you know?
Well, you know, it's funny you mention that because...
It's like, I love you so much, I'll sting you like a bee. Ho, ho, ho!
Oh, God, that's so horrible.
I know, when I saw it, I was like, I have to own this, and it's on 50% off. And then I tried the chocolates, and I was like, oh, no wonder. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. What do you think of all the stuff that was announced at Toy Fair?
You know what? I'm really excited. I actually mentioned this in a thread on TFW and Cybertron.ca. Mm-hmm. The thing that I'm actually the most excited about, and it's something that no one mentioned, is all the names that were registered for these toys. One thing that a lot of people kind of overlooked completely was, you know, like they were showing all these new toys and these characters, but the names that were used for these characters, and some, because you have to realize Hasbro has to register names for these characters,
right.
The names that were used were some names that have not been, like, registered for years. Like, they're using Huffer, which they haven't used since 1984, the name. It hasn't been registered or used since 1984. They're using Hubcap, which again has not been used since 1986. Except Machine Wars, which was in 1997. Ice Pick, which was one of the monster pretenders from G1, never used before that. And they re-registered it for one of the Power Core combiners. Now, what am I getting at with all of this? Is that Hasbro, a lot of times now, especially now, when they register names like that, obscurely out of nowhere, it means that they have, like, they're getting the rights to use it in the future for a good figure. Meaning, like, before we get our nice, like, Bludgeon or Nightbeat, we have to go through a couple of years of Nightbeat 7 and Robots in Disguise Bludgeon. Like ugly toys that have the name attached to it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And not to offend any listeners who like Nightbeat 7 or, Robots in Disguise Bludgeon.
Yeah.
But, so... And there's a huge list of it. There's, what else? Oh, Bomb Shock. A lot of people were angry about the Combaticon combiner there, right? But it's not Onslaught in the center. A lot of people are like, oh, what the hell is that? But a lot of people don't realize that that centerpiece, Bomb Shock, that's a Micromaster character. And it looks exactly like that Micromaster character, except the colors, because he was more of a darker green. But what's even more interesting is his partners, like the drones, if you call them, that don't transform. They look exactly like his Micromaster partners, like in the alt modes. So, like, even though they call it the Combaticons, it's pretty much a gigantic nod to that team of Micromasters back in 1991, and it has the names and everything, it's really cool. I like that there's the Rallybot team. It's really nice to see, and same thing with the Destructicons. It's nice to see new, fresh combiners.
Yeah.
It's been, ever since Energon, it's been kind of like Hasbro's like, well, now when we do combiners, we just have to, aerial bots again, Constructicons again, Bruticus again, so it's nice to see like another fresh team of combiners with a new name or something.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I like the idea of Power Core combiners. I want to see more, to get a really good idea of it. It looks like it's mini-cons that are translucent colored with, it's Armada again, but with more triple changer twist and classics aesthetic. But I want to see more before I judge it. It's because it's still at this point where it's like, I like it, but show me more. I think the big winner for me of the whole thing was just Human Alliance Jazz. Because I have a friend who's obsessed with Jazz, and he was really pissed off with all the Jazz toys that we've gotten movie line wise.
Mm-hmm.
And he, not to mention the fact when Jazz died in the movie, he wasn't too happy about that either. But he was just like, well, that's it. We're going to get those deluxe Jazz figures, and since he's dead in the movie, we're never going to get anything else. And he kind of just settled with that, And then when this Human Alliance one came out, he just flipped his cookies, and I don't blame him. It looks really nice. The Human Alliance line, in my opinion, is probably the best thing that happened to the movie line, short of some leader class toys.
Yeah.
It's just, I always tell people, whatever character you like, you get the Human Alliance version, and then that's it. Don't buy anything else. Why buy any other Bumblebee toy except for Human Alliance Bumblebee?
Well, alright, going off of that, what do you think of the Battle Ops Bumblebee that they showed off?
Again, what's the point? It's the whole point of the leader class line is either to use very large characters and, obviously give it to us in the proper scale, because, leader, Optimus Primes and Megatrons need leader class regardless, and the other half of a leader class line is to give you characters with bells and gimmicks, you'll have Voyager Bulkhead in animated, and then you'll have Leader Bulkhead, who's lights and sounds and spins and this and that, And it's the same thing. You'll have Deluxe Movie Brawl, and then you'll have the humongous Leader Class Brawl that's lights and sounds and this and that, So it's the same thing, because Bumblebee is Bumblebee, and we already got, I guess you could call it Ultimate Bumblebee with his lights and sounds, and we got Bumblebee in every size possible. In Revenge of the Fallen alone, just Revenge of the Fallen alone, we've had 7 different Bumblebees from that same deluxe mold. 7.
Right.
7. I can't even, 7 times we're buying a yellow Bumblebee with minor changes on it.
That's exactly why outside of the fact that I'm not a fan of the movie line, that's exactly why I never got into the movie line.
It's mind-blowing, and it's funny because you have the Nest, wave that just came out, and it's the 2-pack has a Bumblebee. And then the actual wave of figures has a different Bumblebee. But if you put them next to each other, it's pretty much the same Bumblebees, It's what's the point anymore? Yeah, okay, head mold difference or minor paint app difference. But it's still Bumblebee, and it's still that same deluxe mold, where, like I said, you get Human Alliance Bumblebee, that's it, you're done. Wipe your hands clean, walk away. You just bought the best Bumblebee toy from the movie line ever made. You don't need anything else. And hey, you got a free Sam figure,
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back. That's why, Human Alliance is kind of like this. If you're on the fence with the movie line, just get these guys, and that's it. And then walk away.
Yeah,
and granted, I don't see in the future us getting a Human Alliance Optimus Prime, but
No.
pretty much all the cars and everything in that kind of scale will get a Human Alliance at some point. I guess maybe down the line we'll maybe get I don't know, Sideways, or maybe even a unique character like a Breakdown or something. But all I know for now, I'm loving it. I'm sticking with that for sure.
Yeah.
Movie Bumblebee's on my desk, Human Alliance Bumblebee, and I was just so impressed with him, and I'm not a fan of Bumblebee at all. I wasn't crazy about him in the movie. I wasn't crazy about him as a character before the movie existed. I wasn't a big Bumblebee fan, but this figure just easily became my favorite Revenge of the Fallen figure because of how much design and aesthetic and effort went into it. And Jazz is the same thing. It's like, here's what we gave you all these years so far, and now we're going to blow that all away and just make it the only Jazz figure you'll ever need. And hey, you get a Lennox, and it comes with the Lennox. That's the motorcycle that he drove before he shot Blackout, which is another cool nod to the movie. So it's like, you can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. And I think that's pretty much it. In terms of like Transformers stuff, I mean, there was other stuff shown at Toy Fair. I'm looking forward to, like, I think it's NECA that's doing like the Tick action figures. Like they're doing 2 of them, like with a Mailway Arthur. There wasn't much outside of Transformers I was too excited about. I found it was pretty quiet in terms of non-Transformers. Like Hasbro stole the show, and then every other company kind of like, yeah, we have this and that. You know?
Yeah, well, the thing why Hasbro probably stole Toy Fair outside of, say, Mattel with their Masters of the Universe line is because they have 3 large properties. They have they have Transformers, they have G.I. Joe. We're getting G.I. Joe Resolute figures.
Yeah. I know, but that's just it. And like
Star
Hasbro,
Wars.
every property they brought probably took like an entire wave of the complex. You know, it's like, here's our Transformers, and it's like the entire section. Yeah. Here's our G.I. Joes. Here's our, like, you know, My Little Ponies, and, you know, everything else. Because I know that, like, the whole Hasbro, like, you know, section, if you will, had so many different lines going on, and each one of them was like a mega property that was like that had at least like 100 figures coming out for that following year. Where when I would click on Lego or Mattel or except for Masters of the Universe with Mattel, or even what was I looking at? You know, just like the statues and stuff. Everything else seems so quiet. Yeah. You know, or stuff that I heard about already, and they're just now bringing it in person to show. Yeah. You know, like, oh, hey, like, you know about that figure you saw pictures of online? Well, here it is in person now. You know, so it wasn't a lot of like new news to me or anything. I was kind of hoping to hear about Mega Man toys or something like that, but it was pretty quiet from Jazzware. Also, they were really hyping their Sonic the Hedgehog merchandise, which again, no offense to listeners, but blah, you know. So,
I asked you on Twitter the other day about the whole Generations line. You know, what's the deal with that? Why not just call them War for Cybertron toys?
How I pretty much see that is Hasbro is trying to kind of avoid, I wouldn't say a mistake, but what they did when Movie 1 toy lines ran too long. You know, when Movie 1, it did so well, and they kind of just like, well, let's just run this Transformer movie line as long as humanly possible. And before we knew it, it was like, movie came out in July 2007, and next thing you know, we're in, like December 2008, and it's still running, and we're getting like toys that were meant for the Classics line under that banner. In that case, like, it was the, like say Mirage repaint as Fracture and stuff.
Right.
Like they said that these were toys that, that were essentially planned to be in the Classics line, but they're like, you know what, let's just put it under the movie banner and discontinue everything around us, Yeah. So I think they want to put everything under this nice umbrella. They want to be known as, like people go into the aisle and go, I want Transformers. That. Not, Transformers animated. And I think that they want to have this one brand and then have kind of like under that one brand minor subline deviations. So like Generations is kind of like the umbrella for anything that's kind of Classics or kind of Universe 2.0, if you will, or Universe for that matter. Anything that kind of like harkens back to yesteryear, whether it be Beast Wars, IDW stuff like Drift, or right. G1 or whatever. Anything that's the past.
So the Generations line pretty much replaces Universe.
It's Universe, like 3.0. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
It's just, I guess they didn't want to call it Universe again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it's fine. It's like when I replied to you on Twitter about it. The reason when I first saw the line name Generations, I'm like, oh, they're going to be, they're referencing G1. Because I'm a G1 fanboy, so that's the first thing that thought in my head. I want that Optimus Prime. That Optimus Prime is cool as hell.
You're talking about the War for Cybertron one?
Yeah. The one that kind of looks like an El Camino.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The whole line kind of exists as this, like, anything that harkens back to original characters, it will go under that umbrella. And again, it's called Generations with an S because it's like all the generations.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
All the generations that have come before, here you go, in some way or form. And then they'll have Transformers Power Core Combiners, which again, it's a subline. And what it pretty much is, it's like, it's not Armada, it's our new Armada for the year 2010 into 2011.
Yeah, it's like Armada 2.0 or something.
And again, I can't speak much of it because of ignorance, but I'm assuming whatever the new series is, Transformers Prime or whatever they're going to call it, it'll obviously might be related to that. It might not be. I don't know.
Right.
But maybe it is 100% related to that. Maybe that's exactly what the series is, and it's the Power Core Combiners or whatever. But whatever it will be, under this umbrella title. It's.
Right.
I think I think they're really right now trying to grab a hold of their property. They're finally realizing after all these years how important some characters are compared to others. Like Hasbro for years didn't care about Bludgeon, and then all of a sudden everyone's like freaking out and loving this Bludgeon toy that came out. Which, by the way, for listeners right now, that's going to be what I'm going to be reviewing today.
Yes.
So it's just, I think they're finally getting it after all these years, like how important name properties are. I mean, you have to realize there was a point where they almost lost the license to Optimus Prime during the Beast Wars era. They almost lost it because they didn't register the name. And it wasn't until someone reminded them that they dropped the name into the whole Machine Wars line. Why it even existed, okay, was pretty much a way to register some names that they wanted to keep safe. Soundwave, Starscream, Hubcap, Hoist, names that they've held onto for years. Prowl, Mirage, although Prowl did get a Beast Wars toy a year later in the combiner team of Magnaboss, but it's just, they almost lost Optimus Prime, and now, finally, I think the movie kind of really shook them up, and they realized, you know what, we really got to get that Jazz name back. You know what, we really got to get that Bumblebee name back. You know what, we really got to get that Hot Rod name back. Like, now they're finally getting on the ball. And so I think that's also why they re-registered all these new names. Well, not new names, but old names new again.
Yeah.
Because I think they're finally realizing, maybe people miss Hubcap. Maybe people want Huffer again. Maybe people want, well, maybe not Ice Pick. Obviously they registered some names for the sake of to some people, Dead End is a Porsche, Stunticon. But the Hasbro Dead End is kind of like this name that you could just attach to anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's filler characters, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think they also like Ice Pick. I don't see a Monster Pretender homage coming anytime soon, but I see him being attached to any like Arctic-based vehicles, or or something that's really sharp, or like something with a drill on it. I don't know. Right. Like it's just they'll just use it for that. It's the same thing. Like you could register, Speed Breaker, and it'll just attach to any car.
What molds did they use to come up with the Generations Optimus Prime? Like I see the Classics version kind of in him with his legs, but what other? Is it just an updated version? Like as far as the robot mode, is it just an updated version of the Classics one?
Did you know the whole story with War of Cybertron? I
know what I've seen so far of the game, but I don't know everything, I guess.
It's pretty much a humongous kind of nod to War Within, if you will. But obviously without stealing Don Figueroa's design, because he obviously did his design way back when with Dreamwave.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's a new take on that.
Okay.
And it looks great. I'm excited about it like crazy. It's making me run out and buy a PlayStation. So I mean, I have a Wii and it's not going nowhere with that. So so it looks great. Even the Bumblebee, just to let everyone know, he was mistransformed at the show. Even Hasbro said it afterwards. He wasn't transformed correctly, so a lot of those photos didn't really do him justice. He looks really, if you want to know what that Bumblebee really looks like, if you've seen pictures from the Club magazine, that's how he's supposed to look, where the shots from Toy Fair weren't that nice. Even like the RPM Transformers, which are They're the little like die-cast ones there that don't transform. They're kind of like the Hot Wheels, if you will.
Yeah.
And they showed like they have like 60 of them waiting in the wings to come out, you know, of multiple colors and variations and stuff. And I saw one that looks a little bit like alternator / Binaltech Kissplay Hot Rod, and I hope that it's Hot Rod because it's the Ford GT done with the red and the white stripe down the middle, which is pretty much like the Kissplay paint scheme. Right. So I'm like, ooh, maybe we'll get that, you know. Again, so much speculation. I was happy. That was a pretty crazy weekend. Like, again, it was the weekend of Valentine's Day, but I took many times away from dates and stuff to get to a computer and see the latest updates of pictures because I knew that this was going to be a crazy weekend. And
did you do you have any predictions or whether or not that we will see animated Rodimus maybe announced at BotCon, maybe like a future date or something?
See, that was a big thing everyone was really stinking about with Toy Fair was there wasn't a single mention of animated at all. But I think it's more so the fact that they wanted to show the new stuff they had at Toy Fair, where we saw all the animated figures we were more or less going to get at BotCon last year. So to bring them again would not be redundant, but it would be unnecessary in the space that they could be using for their new product that they've worked, months on. I get a feeling we'll hear a lot more at it at BotCon. We're going to probably see those same toys again in the glass cases, maybe even some finalized versions, maybe if there was a paint app change or something. There's always running changes with these molds because it's still in the test shot prototype stage.
Right.
But we'll definitely find out all the final words for sure. Hey, for all we know, by the time, July rolls around, maybe even Rodimus will be out. Maybe we'll start, who knows, maybe tomorrow there'll be sightings of it and Hasbro just hasn't mentioned anything. Because it's the same thing. Like it was like, you're going to get RC, we just don't know when. And then when that wave with Freeway Jazz and Electrostatic Shockwave came out and RC was on the back of the packaging, everyone started speculating, and next thing you know, she showed up.
Right.
So, I think it's just a matter of time right now. Like he's going to pop up. We don't know when, but by BotCon we'll know definitely by then. Because I know that everyone's going to be asking. Aside from you and me, a lot of people are really hyped about this figure. So I know that at least one. I'm going to BotCon anyways this year, so don't worry. Worst case scenario, I'll look Aaron Archer right in the eye and go, "Yo, where the Rodimus at?"
Yeah, there's out of the ones that were announced for the late, I guess we could call it a late blooming line for animated. Like I've said this before, the ones I want obviously RC and Rodimus. That's a given, and I want that Wasp, even though it's just a Bumblebee repaint. I want that Fugitive Waspinator. Other than that, I really don't. I mean, Electrostatic Sound, it's just a repainted Soundwave. Freeway Jazz, it's just a movie.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's unnecessary. I have the figures that I want. So yeah. All right, well, I think we're going to take a quick break, and we will come back with the toy discussion.
Don't they realize they're dealing with Destro?
We are back, and I am going to go first this time. I just celebrated my 30th birthday a couple weeks ago, and I got a crap ton of Mighty Mugs. I had been wanting to complete my G.I. Joe collection because I had Cobra Commander, and I completed that. The one I'm going to be talking about today is Destro. Destro has to, I've said this before, my personal opinion is G1 Shockwave is the best out of any and all of the Mighty Mugs that I've seen so far, at least out of the ones I own. He is number one, but Destro actually gives him a run for his money. When I first saw the Destro box, when I took it out of the BBTS, the Big Bad Toy Store box, his box, and I know Proto Man, you're in Canada, and they screw you guys over on boxes, but the American box, it's glossy silver with gray, so it's shiny.
I know, and you showed me through the webcam, and you know what? That's because the thing that's amazing too is that when they have to do something like that, that goes into the budget. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
To chrome a box, so like that's like an extra nod to the fan. It's the same thing. They chrome his face too.
Oh yeah.
which is like, wow, they actually, and it's the same price point, I assume, correct?
Well, see, I bought my girlfriend got me the G.I. Joe Mighty Mugs, and the way I had to buy them, because I already had Cobra Commander, so the way I had her do it was I bought the single Mighty Mug of Duke, and then I had her buy the Wave 2 set, which includes Destro, Baroness, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow, so that completes my set, so I bought them in the Wave set.
Okay, so I guess the general assumption is they're the same price.
Yeah, I think it's like $17 on Big Bad Toy Store, but yeah, it's pretty much the same price. Okay. I think I could have gotten him at Toys R Us for like $12, but that's Toys R Us. But yeah, I was really surprised with this guy that his head is chromed. It actually makes it very hard for his face to show up on camera. No, seriously. I mean, it
must be like photo disaster. I know a lot of the Henkei figures, which also have like a lot of chrome parts. It makes it impossible to take pictures with them.
Yeah. I don't know. He takes pictures okay, I guess, but just showing him in video, because the way his whole for the majority of his head outside of the actual back of his head is the silver chrome stuff, and then the back of his head and the face outline, like his forehead and where his nose and stuff is and the shape of his mouth, that's all like a darker chrome gray, whereas the rest of it is silver. But it's very, very cool. He is by far, outside of G1 Shockwave, the coolest Mighty Mug I own, I think. And I never really was a fan. I am a fan of G.I. Joe, but because I never really watched the original cartoon when I was a kid, I was more of Transformers. I have to go back and watch it and get to like the character a little bit more. But in Mighty Mug form, he is very, very cool. A lot of details I've noticed in some of these Mighty Mugs, like, for example, on the Duke one, and even though I'm not talking about Duke, but on the Duke one, on his right shoulder, has an American flag on the upper part of his shoulder.
Yeah, but see, that's kind of the cool thing about Mighty Mugs, and I wish they actually did that more with Transformers, but it's not as necessary because they're more straight-line designs. Mm-hmm. But it's because they have this like single unmolded cast that then pretty much the painters are like, given this blank slate to go, okay, do Duke, but do whatever you can with Duke. If you could put like a pack of cigarettes, in his front pocket, go for it, because it's not like we have to mold it in. It's like doing a painting. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's what I find even more amazing is that the whole thing with Destro, it's like they almost took a little step above the budget, to say, okay, we're going to give the fans this amazing chromed Destro figure and not take anything away from it, not make the plastic cheaper and charge to the same price. And it looks amazing. It looks absolutely... I will agree with you because, Transformer bias aside with me, but... That figure easily looks like the best Mighty Mug figure I've ever seen.
Yeah, I honestly think that it is. At least out of all the ones that I've seen, and I counted all my boxes this morning or earlier today, and I have 27 Mighty Mugs, and that's including all the Transformers ones. To be a collector.
That wasn't my world.
Yeah, no.
No,
you have way too much stuff.
No one should be in my world.
We can visit, but we don't want to live there.
Yeah.
It's like, look, don't touch. Alright, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Destro. I mean, it's, just outside the fact that, he has a chrome head, and the rest of the Mighty Mug body is just, the same paint, and not same paint, but... the same design into, his outfit from the Sunbow series, and
so it's the like version 1 Destro, if you will.
I would assume so.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from what I've seen from you. It looks like the first like I guess you could call it the round vested version.
Yeah.
And knowing Hasbro, they'll probably like give us different because there's many different versions of Destro. So
yeah, I think this was the version from the original Sunbow series, and I think that's what Hasbro has done with with Transformers, Marvel, and G.I. Joe in general for the Mighty Mugs. They've gone and done like all right, Marvel Mighty Mugs Wolverine. There's 3 different versions of him.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There's the original classics yellow and blue spandex. There is the cowboy version, which is just called Logan, which he comes with an actual cowboy hat that is detachable. And then there's that SDCC exclusive from last year, which is called Wolverine, that has retractable claws. So, I'm sure that, actually, I think the Wave 3 of G.I. Joe was canceled. I don't know. That's what I've been reading.
Well, remember, the Transformer one, too, was on the fire at one point, too, and it ended up happening in the end, so...
Very true. Actually, it's funny, Thorzine showed me an image from somewhere, it might have been from TFW, I don't know, of the Ironhide and Prowl, supposedly in the Wave 4 for Transformers Mighty Mugs.
And it makes you wonder, because if they were originally, kind of canceled, and then they got released in the end, who knows, maybe there was a resurgence,
Yeah.
Maybe because of the recession. So many things we don't know that's happening behind the scenes. They cut here and there, but who knows? They might get released. They might end up becoming like a toy. Usually it goes from canceled to not mass release anymore. It's an exclusive to a specific store. To now it's like only a Toys R Us exclusive, and then it becomes like a show exclusive, a San Diego Comic-Con, a BotCon.
I gotta say though, a lot of the rarer Marvel ones, like Black Suited Spider-Man and Venom and that SDCC Wolverine, I'm actually expecting those 3 as well as the regular Spider-Man one for Mighty Mugs. I'm expecting those in sometime the end of this week, beginning of next week. I bought them on Amazon. I think the total with the shipping was like $185. The SDCC Wolverine was like $24.95, which, granted, for a Mighty Mug that may seem overpriced, but a lot of the other ones, like there's an Iron Man 2 version of War Machine that's in Mighty Mug form. It's like $70 on Amazon.
In retrospective, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of anything for $27 is probably a steal. So.
Oh yes, very much so.
And not to mention something like Wolverine of something you collect. So, in my opinion, it'd be worth it. I mean, you know me, I spend a lot more than that on stuff. So.
Yeah.
What you got was a bargain.
Yes. Very much so it was. I think after those come in, I think for now I'm probably done with the Mighty Mugs unless more come out. I think I still need to get Red Skull and Captain America. Other than that, I pretty much have all the Marvel ones that I want. The only one that's pretty much kind of like my holy grail when it comes to Mighty Mugs now, only because it's too damn expensive on Amazon, is the SDCC movie version of Iron Man. It's like between $90 and $130. I'm like, ugh.
Well, you know what I always say?
Wait, yeah.
You got a second Iron Man movie on the horizon, so the hype is still there.
Yeah. Oh well, it's like I said a second ago. They've made specifically Iron Man 2 Mighty Mugs, the Mark 6 armor for Iron Man, and a War Machine one, War Machine Mighty Mug. So those are supposed to be hitting stores or have already hit stores. I haven't seen them yet, but. Yeah, Destro, very, very cool. Any G.I. Joe fan that likes Mighty Mugs should have him, I think.
Even like just Joe fans in general.
Yeah.
I think that if you've been skipping out on the Mighty Mugs thus far, if you're going to get one, just one, I think you're going to get your money's worth really with this one.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
You want a Cobra Commander or Snake Eyes? No, seriously, get the Destro. It's worth your money.
Yeah. So that's it for me. Who are you going to be talking about again? Bludgeon?
I was going to talk about Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon. I was figuring I'm going to go with something that was a recently opened up figure for me. I picked up a lot of stuff this weekend, but I don't know. This was one of those figures I was not to mention being really impressed with, but just. It was something that a lot of fans have been waiting, almost 20 years in the making. It goes back to what I was saying before about name registration.
Right.
Hasbro in 2001 placed a bid with the U.S. Patent Office and ultimately got, in the end, Bludgeon back, which they originally lost back in, I believe, they lost it when it expired in 1991. And then 9 years later, or 10 years later, they re-registered it in 2001. And a lot of people got excited, oh, we're going to get like some kind of bludgeon toy for this new series Armada that's coming out, because there was always these hints about Armada. And what ended up happening was he showed up as a repaint from the hero Megatron. Bless you.
Excuse me, sorry.
So he was just this garish kind of like repaint from G2 Megatron, and it was called Bludgeon. And people were like, oh, ho-hum. You know, they had the name and they screwed up. But, they didn't understand, the methods of madness of how this goes with these name dropping and stuff. So the point was they still had Bludgeon, the name. And they kept it registered and they kept it in circulation in their franchise. And the second, appearance was, hey, here's Bludgeon again. And he's in the 2-pack with Whirl in the Revenge of the Fallen toy line. And, people were like, oh, ho-hum, here we go again, Bludgeon, name dropped, didn't do anything cool with it. But Bludgeon was always this cult character that people really wanted, done correctly. To the point that even the original Bludgeon toy, despite the fact how much it goes for on eBay and everything, complete, it never even actually came with a sword, It comes with a gun, which is, Bludgeon's always known for him with his samurai sword.
Right.
So then we got the amazing photo from BotCon 2009, which is when they showed off Bludgeon in his fullest form, 100% how he was going to look. And it was a Voyager toy, and it was based off of a design that Andrew Wildman and Don Figueroa kind of pieced together. And it was amazing. And we all got super excited, and we were like, oh, is this classics? Is this movie line? The aesthetic was kind of on the board. And we got the final answer from Aaron Archer and Jared Wade, who are two people that work for Hasbro. And they were like, well, when this toy was originally being engineered, it was a classics toy in mind, or Universe 2.0, But then they were like, you know what? We don't know if that line's going to still be running by the time we get this figure out. So they attached the auto-morph gimmick, which was pretty much found all over this figure in many different ways.
Yeah.
And we got what we have today. To talk about the actual figure and how amazing it is, first of all, it turns into a Japanese tank, which is a nice nod to the original Bludgeon toy, which turned into a tank, and because he was a samurai, so Japanese connection, pretty cool. In tank mode, the turret swivels, it's really cool. He's got missile launchers, he's got a separate turret on the top, and he has rubber treads, which is another cool little nod. Granted, these treads don't move. They have stoic wheels under them that kind of help the whole thing move along, but it's amazing that they even went the extra effort to put, rubber treads and stuff, considering that they don't have to put any kind of rubber on a Transformer toy. We don't expect it, and it's really nice that they did that. Transforming him, there's tons of, little automorph stuff on it, and, Mecha Live, if you will, if you want to call it that.
Right.
He's not a difficult toy to transform. It's just, I think, the first time you might get a little lost, because, these Revenge of the Fallen toys, they range between okay to transform, kind of difficult, and do it once and then put it on the shelf and never touch it again. And he's one of those difficult the first time around, but when you get it, you get it. You might have to actually peek at the instructions, but honestly, Transformers instructions now are absolutely useless.
Yes.
So go try to find a really nice YouTube video and and take it from there. But his transformation's not too hard. Once you get it, you get it. He has an amazing robot mode. They gave him a very cool, really armored up samurai. Samurai armor, how when you think of Bludgeon in the comic books, aside from the samurai helmet, the whole samurai armor fatigue doesn't really, spill from his design from the old undetailed Marvel comics. And his figure, so much so, didn't really have that. But this one really comes off that, heavy samurai armor look to it with the skirt-like kind of look and the armor hanging everywhere and the mesh, and it works so well. And it's so cool how his two swords, and yes, he has two swords, how his two swords are concealed. His big sword is his cannon So when it's removed from his, from the cannon of the tank,
Right.
it's like a sheath, and it's just absolutely incredible. And then they have this amazing, I almost feel like it was engineered afterwards just to make the fans gush. But then they engineered inside the actual turret of the cannon, you open it up, and this automorph gimmick, or this Mechalive gimmick, of this sword pops out, like RoboCop style,
Yeah.
of a second little dagger, which, again, and I want to, keep this in mind, samurais back in Japan, they fought with swords, but the fighting style that they used in martial arts was judo. And what samurais would do is they would grab their opponent and pin them on the ground, and then they would take out their small dagger and then stab the person in close range. That's why judo doesn't involve punching or kicking. It's all grabbing and submitting. And so it's really cool that they also implicated the small dagger that samurais use for close kill combat. And that's amazing. That's just, whoever worked on this, and I don't know who made all these final decisions, but they really put a lot of thinking into this by using a Japanese tank design, by, keeping true to the samurai nature, right down to the aesthetic and even the weapon choices. Some people complain about the face, but you know what? It doesn't have to be a straight-on skull. It doesn't have to be 100%, bludgeon. This is a new take, it's and not to mention, because it's Revenge of the Fallen, you're allowed to have a little design twist here and there. And it looks amazing. It's modern day bludgeon, everyone loves a lot of the classics toys, but hey, they're not 100% true to their original incarnations, and you still love them, so you can't hate on bludgeon just because his face isn't 100% a skeleton head. They made the effort that, the skeleton heads, the samurai helmet is still kind of that off-maroon look that he originally had. They still kept the oranges. They still kept the greens. They could have went in other colors. So, this is, without a doubt, the bludgeon we've all been waiting for, I can't imagine them doing any better than this. He's incredible. Everyone was, freaking out when this toy came out, and rightfully so. He's making his wave buddy, Recon Ironhide, very lonely at the Toys R Us or Walmart or whatever. No one's picking him up in that wave. It's all about bludgeon. It really is. And, yeah, pick him up, guys. And if you do not own this figure, pick him up, because any figure that's about Transformer history to me, or that has some kind of interesting tale to even how it was made, it really adds to that. Because this figure has been something that's been on the back burner. It's been planned for a while. There was a time where this toy might have even been a 6-inch titanium, because they were planning to do a bludgeon in the 6-inch titanium line. That would have been a disaster, imagine,
Yeah, very true.
So, or maybe not, but then again, the 6-inch titanium line was just really hit or miss to begin with. But it's just, so it's really great that we got this figure. It has a great history. The amount of effort and detail that has gone into this toy for a Voyager is outstanding. Again, I can't think of another Voyager Revenge of the Fallen toy that is a must get compared to this one. In a sea of repaints and unnecessary, I guess, I don't know, maybe, I can't even think of one. I'm trying to think of one that could even come close to this, but I can't. It's just, look, Starscream repaint, Ironhide repaint remolds, it's Optimus Prime repaint remolds, it's Ratchet repaint, it's just, and then you have a few of the new molds for the movie, but in general, this is the winner. He's above and beyond every other Voyager of the movie line thus far. And he's the figure that you buy Revenge of the Fallen, but you put him on your classic shelf. You do. You put him next to your Megatron. You put him next to your And here's hoping for more of that, Hasbro. I tip my hat to you. You did a great job this time around, and I'm sure the Japanese must love this figure too.
Yeah, I like the way he looks, but again, Revenge of the Fallen, I draw the line at Ravage. That's the only movie toy I've ever bought, and it probably will be the only movie toy I ever buy. It's great that the fans have Bludgeon, the fans that like him and everything else, and sure, he's awesome, but it's just me against the movie line, just no.
Well, see, it's just, like, not to, like, try to convince you to buy the figure, but it's a toy that's labeled under the movie line, but it really isn't a movie line toy. It's just like I was saying before, where Hasbro's kind of umbrella corporationing now their merchandise, and it's just, here's a toy. It's the same thing. There's Scout Breakdown that's out right now. It's a Scout toy that's Breakdown. That's exactly the Stunticon from G1. The design is used for the IDW comic books, which is the G1 IDW comic books. But the toy ends up in the Revenge of the Fallen line. That's kind of what's happening right now with Hasbro. Is they're kind of just putting stuff under titles. I mean, there was a time where we thought Drift was going to end up in the Universe 2.0 line. Like, even though he's an IDW toy, like character, like, we don't know. We don't know what's going on, but like, if you do, like, if you pick him up, you're not picking up a Revenge of the Fallen toy. You are picking up a Universe 2.0 updated version of the original Marvel villain himself, Bludgeon.
Right, I understand that, but it's the same thing if they, and believe me, I would completely disown Hasbro if they had put the as of yet unreleased animated. If they had put the unreleased animated toys at the time under the movie line, I would have completely disowned them and not bought anything Hasbro. Even the Mighty Mugs, I would have not bought anything.
You know what? I wouldn't. You have to realize I wouldn't be surprised if they would have done that. There has been animated toys. Granted, it was the Legends, mind you, but there has been animated toys released under non-animated banners. So, I mean, sometimes it's just a name. I
know, but
you got to look past that.
But still, it's like, even though the show's gone, even though the toy line's pretty much dead, as Hasbro said, other than the ones that they've already promised us, it's nice to keep the continuity of keeping that animated packaging.
Oh, of course. I understand you completely. Especially, it would be a shame because the movie, let's say if Rodimus did end up in the movie packaging, it would look horrible.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get the really nice Derek Wyatt designed, Rodimus packaging that we would probably get with it, and the proper bio on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
With the 2 quotes and the abilities. Like, yeah, animated packaging is awesome, So it would be a real shame if that happened. But you know what? When the end of the day comes, we got to get that figure out any way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yes. We want Rodimus now, damn it.
Oh, man.
Do you think, since we kind of got off onto a Rodimus discussion...
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm done with Bludgeon.
No, I know, but I'm saying, do you think that they would put another Rodimus in the Generations line? Like I don't know if he's going to be in War for Cybertron. I don't think he is.
I don't think he will be either, personally. I think they're going to stick to the 84-85 cast.
Oh, okay.
With the exception of, again, like you saw Triptychon, but I think because they just need a foil to Omega Supreme at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to really stick, for now, just the 84-85 cast, and then down the line, maybe if the sequel to Revenge of the Fallen or a mild download content might be an Ultra Magnus repaint of Prime or something. Yeah. But I really don't see 86, 87 cast characters coming anytime soon.
Do we know, or do you know who voices the Megatron in that? Because I don't.
I don't think it's been said yet. We've had, like, even what we know of War on Cybertron in terms of voices, it's only been because the voice actors themselves have come out and said, I'm working on said game.
Right.
It hasn't been the other way around where, like, we found out about the game and they said, this person's doing this,
Right.
I mean, we know Peter Cullen because it's Peter Cullen, but...
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, we don't know anything yet. I mean, hey, we might get... I don't know, Michael Dobson for Starscream or whatever. It's going to be Brian Dobson, but we'll see. Who knows? It could be anyone.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, well, I guess that's it for us. Thank you for joining us here on ToyCast. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. First is you can visit www.geekcastradio.com and find all the other podcasts there. Second is you can stop by PredicationEmpire.com/Nexus. Those are our forums. Thirdly, you can leave us feedback on iTunes. Please do this. We now have a voicemail line. Call us and leave us your thoughts on each episode. Be sure to say which show you're leaving the message for and your name. The number is 502-526-5821. We have Twitter. Our show name there is TF ToyCast. Mine is TFG1 Mike. And what is your Twitter?
Rotoman X. And if you want to go to it, you're going to get a lot of Transformer news, deals, and that's pretty much what my Twitter's for.
Unless it's being hacked.
Yeah. Well, that only happened once.
Yeah.
Then I was advertising Taco Bell for some reason.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of ToyCast. Wish you'll join us next time. Be sure to visit our sponsors, www.bigbadtoystore.com, for all your Transformers and other toy needs and more. For now, I am TFG1 Mike with
The goddamn Proto-Man.
singing the more words of Optimus Prime, Transform and Rollout, and thank you for listening. Until next time.
You're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network of podcasts.